Oh, okay. I'm ready. I'm ready to be a YouTuber. I'm so ready. Okay. Hello, welcome in, welcome back. My name is Karen or Karen Joanna, and today I'm going to give you 3 essential book recommendations for artists and creators. I thought I'd start with something easy to kind of get the feel of things since this is my first official YouTube video, and I'm very excited to be here. In any case, let's get to it. The first recommendation is going to be The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. You can kind of see it with the glare. This book is probably the most impactful of the list because of its structure and because of what it asks you to do and put into practice as an artist. Artists and creators tend to use this book to kind of work through art blocks. And I do want to take note that this book is spiritual, though it doesn't preach a specific religion or anything like that. It mostly just emphasizes a relationship between a higher power and the artist. And that higher power can be creativity, it can be inspiration, it can be God, it can be a muse, and how that relationship fuels us as creators. The reason why I think this book is the most impactful is because it asks you to do the work. In the book, Julia Cameron asks you to do 2 things in order to help you get your creative juices flowing: the morning pages and the artist date. Those 2 things are probably the most important activity that you get asked to do. The morning pages is kind of like journaling or free writing. You're supposed to write 3 pages every day in the morning as soon as you wake up. You do nothing else. You don't check your phone. You literally wake up and you have your little journal right next to you and you write your morning pages. So these pages are all free writing. You don't really need to have any structure to them. Whatever you're thinking in that moment, you drop it on the page. Perhaps that you need to take the dog out, that the movie you saw last night was quite good. Maybe you had a really weird dream. You write that you don't know what to write. Maybe you really have to pee and that's all that comes to mind. So you just write, I really have to pee. Whatever comes to your brain, whatever comes to mind, you drop it on the page. You get all of it out because it allows your brain to dump and free up space for actual creative ideas. So you're supposed to do this every single day. I don't know if you've ever found yourself simply daydreaming and thinking and overthinking about certain things, and you suddenly realize that, oh my god, I just spent like 30 minutes thinking about this one topic and I've done nothing. The morning pages are really, really helpful in freeing up space for new ideas. The second part is the artist dates. The artist dates basically serve the purpose of jolting your brain into creative mode by breaking routine and becoming engaged in the world around you. So an artist date is supposed to be by yourself. You're not allowed to have anybody else on your artist date. It's literally between you, your mind, your creativity, your process, whatever it may be. You need to basically get yourself to a different environment that you're not normally at in order to keep your brain actively engaged, to keep it curious, and to keep it ideating. If you're a writer, you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the park and write. You can't write. You have to do other things that aren't what you want to make art with. Maybe you want to go on a hike, go watch a movie by yourself, go to a museum, whatever it may be, because when we're in a new space, it really engages our brain. And your brain has to kind of actively be like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? What's going on at all times, as opposed to being in your routine. When you're in your routine, you're almost on autopilot. Taking yourself away from your routine is what helps turn that switch in your brain that says, oh, it's time to be engaged because we're in a new environment, doing new things, perhaps learning something new that doesn't have anything to do with your current work, something that's separate, right? So if you combine the morning pages with the artist date, then you get this kind of cycle of I'm dumping things out of my brain to clear space for when I do feel inspired. You're able to fuel that empty space with new experiences, new ideas, and that fuels creativity. And that's kind of the point of the book, is to find a process to work through the art block, to work through whatever project you're currently on. Maybe you're just on a project and you want to brainstorm. You still need to get those ideas out and you still need to come up with a resurgence of new ideas. It's a very, very helpful book. I think you do have to put in the work, but it pays off. Those two practices are probably the most impactful. So I highly recommend this book to anyone who is having self-doubts about being an artist, who is experiencing a current art block, to anyone who simply wishes to put these things into practice. Julia Cameron does an excellent job outlining how everything works and to kind of trust the process. And if you're in the industry, you'll hear people talking about this book because it is quite helpful. Okay, moving on to the next book, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I like to describe this book as kind of a creative Bible. The reason why I call it a creative Bible is because it's not really structured in a like beginning to end kind of way. It just kind of has topics in the table of contents which you can just flip to, and you can find really insightful bits and pieces that I find really useful and inspiring at times. And it's the kind of book where you kind of read it and you take what resonates and you kind of leave the rest. This book is also spiritual. Similar to the previous book, it's not preachy. Again, it's really just kind of recognizing how intrinsic creating is for artists and for humans in general. Rubin himself calls them observations. They're not really supposed to be taken as factual things of the creative world. It's more just so things that he's observed along the course of his career as an artist and working with other artists as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the book. Living life as an artist is a practice. You are either engaging in the practice or you're not. It makes no sense to say you're not good at it. It's like saying, I'm not good at being a monk. You are either living as a monk or you're not. We tend to think of the artist's work as the output. The real work of the artist is a way of being in the world. And some of these could be, really on the nose, especially for more experienced artists, but there's a lot to learn from this book, a lot that keeps you kind of wondering, what is our place in the world as artists? There are excerpts here that are longer. Some of them are like a page and a half, sometimes more. It's really easy to just open up this book anywhere and find something really useful and insightful. It's honestly just a great book to have around if you're ever feeling self-doubt as an artist, if you're ever feeling lost. You can go to the table of contents and find the topic there that you're feeling could resonate with your current problem, with your issue. I'm not saying he's like the end all be all of artists and everything he says is law, and in fact he addresses that in the beginning of the book, but it's really just a way to open up ourselves to wisdom from someone who has had the privilege to work with a lot of artists. I would say definitely give this a read. I think this book is less helpful in a practical sense and more helpful in a spiritual sense if you are an artist and you want to connect with your inner self, not just physically creating art, but putting yourself in a position to be open to those ideas that will arrive and work themselves through you. Okay, the last book. If you've made it to this part of the video, congrats. This book is, in my opinion, the most important in this list. Not because I think it's better than the others, simply because I think it's the easiest to consume and it's the easiest to put into practice. So I think it just makes it really effective at what it does. And the book is Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. I don't currently have my copy with me. I lent it to my girlfriend, so I don't have it here to show you. This book is essentially an illustrated list of how to steal like an artist, how to not plagiarize, how to remix your work to make it your own, as opposed to just copying other people's things, because we obviously don't like it when other people or computers steal our work. So when we're creating art that is inspired by others, we want to be mindful of plagiarism. We don't want to copy somebody else's style. We don't want to copy somebody else's work, literally. We want to create our own thing. And you're allowed to do that, by the way. A lot of people think that, oh, I have to create something original. At this point in time, nothing is original. You create original things by creating things that have already been done and giving them a twist, making something a little bit different, making it your own somehow. And in this book, Austin Kleon, I think, does an excellent job at illustrating that literally. This book I honestly recommend to anyone and everyone who is an artist, who is a creator. It's almost perfect because it's short, it's to the point, it's really quick. You can read it in like 30 minutes. I'm being serious. You can absolutely read this book in 30 minutes because half of it is just illustrations and then the other half is just like tidbits of what does this list mean and how do you put this into practice? How do you do it? This book is very, very valuable. I think every artist should have this book in their bookshelf. I will link these books in the description just if you want to grab them. Please try to grab them from the artist directly if you can, to support their work. And yeah, these are my 3 recommendations. I think these 3 books are really, really helpful for any artist, any person out there who considers themselves a creative. If I had to make a recommendation for which of these 3 books to spend money on first, I think you should own all 3 of them, to be fair. But if I had to pick just one, I would absolutely do Steal Like an Artist, but The Artist's Way is a close second, a very, very, very close second. And the only reason why I don't put The Artist's Way first is because it is a lot of work that I think people may or may not have trouble being consistent in, whereas Steal Like an Artist is, like I said, so easily digestible as a book that it just makes it really accessible for people who may or may not have the time. Like I said, it's really easy to read, it gets to the point, it illustrates the point very well. Great book. Like I had said in my intro video, in every one of my videos, I want to shout out some artists, some projects, some cool things that I think people should support. So I'll be super quick about it, but there are 3 things that I think should be on your radar that I have supported and I think you should support as well. The first one is Dreams on a Pillow. Dreams on a Pillow is a video game experience about Palestine and the 1948 Nakba. It's based on a true story and it is currently seeking funding in order for the devs to keep working on it and to release it. Very important story to tell, especially right now. The game has been deemed too controversial, too political to find significant funding, so now they have launched a campaign on Launch Good where you can support the game. So if you can, if you're able to, please do so. Now the second project I want to talk about is Fruit Salad LLC. It's woman-owned, queer-owned. What they're trying to do is connect freelance artists with indie studios and vice versa, so that indie studios can find talent and so that freelancers can find work. They're working on their own game called Nosy Neighbors. So if you want to support their project, if you want to support their game and support, freelance artists getting work, I think this is one of the ways that you can support that happening. In any case, that's it for this video. Please support those projects if you can, if you're able to. I think they're important. And if you don't like these projects to support, then pick a project this week that you really like and support them, either by sharing their work or by financially giving a contribution. I think the goal is ultimately to support artists and to support one another within the community. Please check out the links in the description. I will have linked the books, I will have linked the projects, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but if you'd like to follow me on social media, for those of you who know me, know that I am social media averse, but I'm trying to put myself out there. So if you'd like to follow me on Blue Sky, or I'm not fully sure if I'm back on Instagram yet, but we'll see. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching the video all the way to the end. I appreciate you immensely. Besitos. Please be on the lookout for another video in a couple weeks. But until then, bye! Alright, we did it. First video.